Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to this follow-up video concerning the artifacts. And I'm still finding pictures of artifacts that I didn't make it into any gallery, and I got a slew of them, dozens more. And this particular series is going to be for people specifically who are interested in learning how to decipher some of these tablets. This is not made for everybody. And it goes back to the Harry rule that ancient languages are either the most fascinating thing or the most boring thing. One or the other. Very seldom is it in between. To get a better grasp of where this is going, one would need to watch attentively our Etruscan Volume 1 video. We cut that back in late September of 1996. And it came with a workbook, and now I've got copies of pages, all the props used in that I can send out either on an SD card or through email. Take several, and so that is a given. Okay, the Etruscan Volume 1 video and the Etruscan Volume 1 workbook, and from there you would also get an enhancement by watching several of our decipherement tapes, Tomb Tape 4, for instance, and to get a feel. The Isaac Convention of spring of 1995 is good. So there's plenty of teaching materials out there, and also studying the alphabets of L.A. Waddell, Encyclopedia Britannica. These alphabets are essential, which you'll see in Etruscan Volume 1. So that's where we want to start, is having you go through those and studying the alphabets and then writing the characters. There's no quick way to do this. If you want to learn an ancient alphabet, just start writing it repeatedly, and that's a good fundamental start. So let's jump right in and get going with some new stuff. There he is right there. As I have said before, this video is not made for everybody. This is made for students of ancient texts that want to learn how to decipher these ancient stones. And to pursue a step further, you might want to Google SCHAFF font and load that into your computer. And I created this in 1995 off of Paul's manuscripts and just put it together. The letters, actual letters on the keyboard, upper and lower case, mimic or mirror some of the characters, a lot of the characters in this tomb. And then I filled up all the numbers and symbols with just abstract characters that we had in this text. Which mean variations, different things, followed by a vowel, on and on and on. But the SCHAFF font, I created in 95. The company that I sent it to, they were going to make a true type font out of it. They lost the thing. They contacted me, said that I had to, so I had to, all I did was Xerox what I had already written, which was a Xerox of the first, so they got third generation, and that's why it looks really weak. I didn't have the time to go back and redo it. So it is very nice. I'm going to explain also how I intended it to be used. So hang tight, do that. Type in the SCHAFF font, upload it. It was put online, I think, in 2011. I'm not sure, but that is essential. You will need to know that and study it. This is the true type font that I laid out on the keyboard back in 1995. And you'll see the uppercase here, lowercase, numbers and symbols, and then shifted numbers and symbols. Now, the only thing that's actually kind of close to being normal would be the top line uppercase. That's pretty solid. And the secondary line, about half of this is okay. Like for right here, that right there is not an F, it's not a G. That right there is a G, but that right there is an MN sound. And here you have a variation of Q. And Q is a good, sometimes the Q will be followed by a U, or what we would call a V shape. So that would be the direction of that script. Well, if you see a Q with a U like that, or a V like that, then that's the direction that it's going. And so all you got to do is Google SCHAFF font, and you can download this, and it can make pulling off some of these decipherements. Here you have the fa, and if the fa has the tail on it, it's a fila. But I was just using symbols to denote different characters, and so they're not really, but I did make a boo-boo here. There's nothing that corresponds to the $sign, and what corresponds to the percentage sign is just a paragraph mark. And I think that the one I actually sent in, I had that corrected, but like I said, this one I just had to make a Xerox of it and send it to them, and it didn't, and it's kind of weak on the, you'll notice these characters here are much more bold. And this is on bold scripted. So to give you some idea of what this is supposed to do, and if you're going to take this serious, this is something I think you need to have. Here's our skunk buddy. Yeah, he's limping. It's his left hind rear leg. Possum's already here. What's going to happen now? Come on, guys. Aye! Possum, you go. Just go, Possum. Get out of here. But Possum just realized Skunk is not going to back down. Where can you get this kind of entertainment standing right on your back porch? The camera cat is helping. Now I want to show bits and pieces of my ancient language library that Paul and I had assembled through the years. It's not just, it's our library together. We call it the Lazeria Library. And we got a lot of books and a lot of really dandies. And anyone that is pursuing ancient languages, you don't have to have all of these, but it does help to have several of them. Now let's look at them. Okay, I've got duplicates of two books here that are just absolutely essential when affirming the alphabet that Franca put together concerning Adena Latin, the SCHAFF font, the SCHAFF alphabet, okay? And both of these books, I believe this one, when I bought mine at Noble, it was like maybe $5.95, and this book here, $4.95. Lost Languages by P.E. Cleator, and Extinct Languages by Johannes Friedrich. And these two books right here will give you a lot of ammunition when it comes to your ancient language library. These are two essential books. And so, just to let you know, these two here are just absolutely fantastic. And they were so cheap. They were so cheap. I found this old card placed in the pages of this book. I would suppose this was like 1998. Yeah, a long time ago. Good looking card. Got a little bit of mud on it. Here's another dandy book. It's not essential. I picked it up later because I'd seen it in the library, a university library, and I wanted one. It's like over 2.5 inches thick, but it is a dandy. Cambridge Encyclopedia of the World's Ancient Languages. Really nice book. Here's another wonderful book to have in your collection. It's published in 1988, The Phoenicians, and it's also over 2.5 inches thick, and it's just loaded with good stuff. I mean, I could do a whole series of book reports on this guy. And here we're looking at some of the old scripts here. And then we're coming up on Phoenician from around 1000 BC. Some of the earliest known Phoenician characters. And you'll notice several of them do mimic what we have in this tomb. Some of it was held over in Latin. This comes from page 94 here. I'm just going to scroll through here, save me the trouble of having to flatten it out and make a scan of it. And just use this right here because it's not essential, it's not part, but it's just showing you that we didn't make any of this up. Let's go over to page 96 and 97. And what the book is pretty much explaining with these 2 pages, or this series of 4 or 5 pages, is that the Phoenician text, the script, the alphabet, did change like every 100 years or so. And every 100 years, every 100 miles, there was a variation. You see the English characters down here on the left. Magnificent book. The Question of the Alphabet. And this is the heart of what Paul would call our church Latin section. And I don't know if our Latin heritage, remember this was published in the early 1960s, and the rest of these were done in the 80s. But all of these have really nice glossaries in the end of them. This right here is a Castle's Latin, English, English, Latin. And it Castle first published in the late 1800s. And this one here is a reprint probably from like the 1950s. It actually doesn't have a date, but it's the Funk and Wagnalls edition of it. And this is a special little book here. Latin syntax. And this was Paul's grandfather's book that he passed on to Paul. So you can see that even as a small runner, Paul was becoming very familiar with Latin syntax. He's got a syntax book here he was probably reading when he was in grade school. Here are 3 more of Paul's books concerning Latin that he grew up with, his grade school Latin classes, that I found going back through other stuff. I found these. These are all new finds. Here's some more of our Latin books. They're in pretty rough shape. You can see that we've worn the covers off of them. Oh, one of my dad's bookmarks. You got some more bookmarks in here. Got Remains Old Latin 1, 2, and 4, and I can't find 3. I guess I've lost 3. I have not been able to find number 3 in several past videos. Let's got Vera 1 and 2, Remains of Old Latin 1, 2, and 4. And that's just some more Latin in the collection here, in this library. Now let's look at some more. Possums attacking each other. I didn't know possums were aggressive. Now I've done several decipherments of Egyptian from this tomb, and I did it because it was fresh meat. It was fresh material. And that's what I want to encourage someone, because we've got so much fresh material that no one the world over has studied. And people that come after Paul and myself, they can start to learn how these ancient languages work together. Because you're going to see a stone that's got Egyptian hieroglyph, Punic, Phoenician, some Greek characters all over the place. And a background in Spanish, Italian, Romanian, which is the closest thing we have today to Latin, and some Greek knowledge would be beneficial. And it's not essential, but it would help when you see some of the words, because once you start studying like the glossaries that I showed from from the Latin books, you're going to see just how much of our language comes right out of Latin. I mean, let's just face it, Latin, Greek, whatever, mostly from Latin though. So just to give you a heads up, this is what I did with the Egyptian books, and I think that I can save you some time, but it will take time, trust me. This is one of my copied Etruscan books. It's a couple inches thick. The Etruscan Language by Giuliani and his daughter Larissa Bonfante. Greek loanwords in Etruscan. And here's volume 2, which is a bit thicker. This one's here is about 3 inches thick. Carrying Inscriptions, Greek Loanwords in Etruscan, volume 2, by the same person, by the same fella. Really nice stuff. So we've got a really good library here, comparable to any college library whatsoever concerning ancient languages, probably surpassing them, probably surpassing the Smithsonian, anything, everybody. This library and the information in it covers a lot of ground, a lot of ground. Looks like the cat may have found a small snake. Now, when it comes to the Etruscan workbook, I convinced Paul that having the workbook and getting the viewer involved with writing these characters would assist them. And there is no substitute for just taking an ancient language and alphabet and just writing the characters again and again and again. Practicing these characters so that your eye knows what you're doing. And you can also see the variations with your own handwriting. Well, if you're carving in a stone, you might have the same variations, or worse, perhaps. But the Etruscan Volume 1 workbook, it engaged the student into writing and copying not only the ancient Latin, but also Phoenician, the Punic characters on the 3 gold tablets for the Pergi tablets. So if you take this on, not only will you expand your knowledge of this particular ancient Latin, but you'll also pick up Punic, Egyptian hieroglyph, and some Greek. So that's where you're going to go with it. Now we're looking at the collection of Egyptian books in this library. It's pretty complete. And here's the 2 Wallace Budge dictionaries, 1 and 2. And we've got all this stuff, but if somebody just wants to have a really good, well-rounded knowledge of Egyptian without wasting any time and as a quick study, this one right here, The Mummy, a handbook of Egyptian funerary archaeology. It's got everything. It's got a glossary right in the middle of it. It's got all the most used words. It is a fantastic book. It's only like just over an inch thick. And it's absolutely fantastic. Beyond that, Cleopatra's Needles is also by Budge, is also very good. And the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Now, with the Egyptian Book of the Dead, you really get an idea, a clear idea of how the Egyptian syntax works. And Paul and I both agree that the only thing that comes close to Egyptian syntax is Navajo. Okay, don't start thinking that they're related, okay? But it's just an absolutely twisted up syntax. And that's what somebody would not be able to duplicate in modern day times. But all of these books are good. And this is a really rare book here. Thus wrote, that word right there. Say that word 3 times real fast. I'm going to leave that with you. It's a great mnemonic book. Paul loved that book. He loved it. Here are just some more abstract books that in the collection. I'm only showing like maybe 2/3 of the collection. There's a lot of ancient language stuff that has nothing to do with this tomb. There's lexicon of Tamazight, but we call it Tamazigh, Tifinagh, ancient Berber. This is the go-to book here. Comes out of Ann Arbor, Michigan University there. An introduction to Egyptian Arabic. Very good. Also from Ann Arbor, Michigan. This right here was my dad's at the request of Paul. Now, I had the real thick Jacinius, and leather bound from the late 1800s. I had an original copy of it, and it was quite cumbersome. The pages were hard to get to, and Paul suggested, "Well, hey, have you seen that paperback Harry's got of Jusinius?" And my digger, no. And Paul went and got it for him, and he put his name on it, and he took it over. He took it over, and all of this is Greek here, and Indo-Sumerian seals by L.A. Waddell, Syrian Semitic inscriptions. Very expensive book. When I purchased this in the early 90s or late 80s, I can't remember exactly when, it was like 285, 260 bucks or so. Mr. Cave of Many Faces, which is I have scanned each page, and I provide that on an SD card. This is a really good one here. Inscriptions from the Athenian Agora, and Archaeology and Language by Renfrew. Okay, Possum, leave the skunk alone. Leave him alone. Okay? Just go away. Yeah, you see? The skunk had to spray you to get you off of him. If you just go home, I'll give you some chicken later. Go home. It's Skunk's chicken. There's plenty to eat if you just leave him alone. This is another dandy in my archives section of books. These are books that I scanned and made copies of for my collection, my library. Egyptian hieratic text by Gardner, and Pyramid Inscriptions by Faulkner, 1969, which is a classic. Both of these are classics. These are the best of the best. Creme de la creme here in this library. Here's another dandy. Archives for Lost Languages from the Mediterranean by Jan Best and Fred Woodhuizen. 1989. This is another classic, and they do a very good job covering several issues. Here's another book from the Harvard Loeb Classical Library series, Select Papyri, Private Affairs, which it definitely is, but it's green, and the papyri is Greek. And don't think that all papyri was Egyptian. Excellent, excellent book. It took me 2 weeks to find that book. Here's one small book from Reading in the Past, the Early Alphabet by John Healy. This handsome fellow here. Page 37. Go look at page 37. What do you think you see here? The Early Alphabet, page 37. And here we have it. Check it out. What do you see there? You see some of the familiar characters you become aware of. Yep, every shape and size of the circle cross, medicine wheel, whatever you want to call it. Look at these characters. You should become familiar with these by now. And this is 8th and 7th century BC. Page 37 of this book, The Early Alphabet. And now we're going to get back into some more books used for confirming and studying ancient languages. Back in spring of 1996, Paul and I developed a relationship with Eric von Daniken. And Paul had worked with some of the script that Eric von Daniken had printed in one of his books, or a couple of his books. And Paul had busted those. And we had emailed him, and he said he was quite fascinated. It didn't take but about 5 minutes for Paul and Eric von Daniken to just become BFFs. And so Eric had told Paul and myself that he had a book that was only released in Europe, in Germany. It was entirely published in German, so there was no need to release it here in the United States. And he said it had some good script in it. So Paul was excited, and so Eric von Daniken, he sent us the book. And Paul, I think I've still got it here somewhere. and Paul lifted some decipherements out of it. So now we're going to see a couple of these decipherements that Paul, they're just short little stuff like teaching tools, whatever. So we're going to look at some of that. It's very interesting. Paul was proving that, and he not only did these tablets from over here, but he could also decipher things from South America, Central America, whatever, wherever it was. And so let's look at some of it. Very interesting. This is my Eric von Daniken collection. And this one was my father's. He doesn't have his name on it, but that was his book. And some others I've collected through the years. And Paul had studied these and lifted some decipherements out of them. And then when Eric von Daniken were talking, this is the book here that Eric von Daniken sent to Paul. This is my old letterhead from Florida. I redacted my old phone numbers. And this is the letter that Paul wrote back to Eric von Daniken in April of 1996. I am pleased to inform you that I have been able to decipher 3 tablets from the book that you sent me. And here it just goes on about publishing and rights and such like that, and giving credit. At this time, I'm withholding the data from the gold plate on page 110, which we're going to look at, because I need confirmation of a particularly unusual phrase. I will request the services of Dr. Cyrus Gordon, who is currently on vacation but will be returning the 24th of this month. I feel him to be the only living expert qualified to comment, unless, of course, you know someone else who might be qualified. Inscriptions from South America, and here's the name of the book, translates in Footprints of the Gods. Page 110, upper left. The letters on this gold seal appear in a set of alphabets from the time of the Indian kingdom of Asaka in 250 BC. The letters are descended from Sanskrit or Nagari with Hellenistic influences. Example right here, right here, right here. I am currently working with this inscription as well as the one on page 109. And the one on page 109 is real dark, so I didn't scan it. Page 110, lower portion. These alphabets stem from Syrian origin, which spread into the Arabian Peninsula and throughout North Africa. Several families of them are called Sephardic, Thamanitic, Libyan, Sabian. They were used in conjunction with the Phoenician and Chalcidic families of alphabets. This alphabet is a predecessor to the Syriac and Hebrew square script in the east and north into the Libyan, Numidian, and Tifinagh in North Africa. Languages vary from Semitic to Berber, Amharic, Ethiopic, and Egyptian. Luckily, these artifacts are in the Semitic language, the language of the sailors who took them there, or from the treasures of King Yuba II's museum in Il Caesarea, Churchill Port in Algeria. All these treasures vanished by 40 AD, when the Emperor Caligula annexed Mauritania to the Roman Empire. Diodorus Siculus, in his works, describes a great land far beyond the Pillars of Hercules, discovered by the Carthaginians, to be used as a place of refuge during adverse times. Many scholars ignore this passage, though it clearly appears to be the Americas to me. King Yuba II, as a scholar king, collected thousands of artifacts from the known world, artifacts then considered ancient. This may explain the mold in Istanbul and the same artifact from Ecuador you mentioned in your book. Many artifacts from antiquity throughout the world describe visitors from the sky, and some are scripted. I have seen many which depict spaceships and eaves. It seems this phenomenon has been going on for several thousands of years, and the ancient scholars recorded and attempted to explain them to the limits of their knowledge. My question is, who were the Elohim gods who flew the fiery chariots? Now to the 2 decipherments from page 111. The alphabets are the same for both. Here's the book, here's the Hebrew, here's the translate right here. So I'm just going to let you look at that. Stone artifact, lower right, to be read from right to left, like this. And here's what's pretty much what they say. And here it is, buffalo, elephant, he-goat. There are 3 animals depicted on the stone. I believe this stone was made for a child to enhance basic skills. Let's look at the next one. Gold artifact, page 111, lower left. Also read from right to left. Right to left. And here it is written down here in order. And that's one thing that when Shafranka nails a letter, a character, it's the same every time. There's very few instances where a variation takes place. And here it is written out from left to right. And here's Paul's decipherement. A part or a portion of blood or the color red, to see, mound, bright star, Ashtarte or shining, God Almighty, supernatural hero. Translate as a reddish section seen on a bright star mound of a god. So there's a lot of von Daniken's gut feelings that he's had through the years that just, you know, sided in with reality. Note the beaded embroidery of the artifact in a semicircle design. I believe this gold script refers to a visitor's sighting and is describing the base of an object. 1996. So there's Paul deciphering stuff from South America. Okay, this is the gold tablet from page 110. I'm going to make it larger. And this is about as large as I can make this without it just getting too distorted. But you can see there's all kinds of characters here. Let's go scroll down. There's several repeating characters actually. And that's the gold tablet from page 110. And this is the next tablet. You'll notice there's 3 animals up here. Clearly animals. And you see the script here. Now we're going to look at the artifact next to it here. And this is about as big as I can make it before it just gets too distorted to see. So anyway, now you can see what the actual pieces look like out of the book. Paul created this in either late 1994 or early 1995, one or the other. I put it at 1995, but I'm sure half of it at least was already down on paper by the end of 1994. And I have added to it, revised, updated in 2010, and also this year, 2022. And we're going to look at it. And this is what we call the SCHAFF alphabet. Adena Latin. Latin from North America as it appears on these stones. There's several variations, and it could be, you know, forwards or backwards. A lot of these can be flipped. Some of them upside down. So many variations of E and the vowels and sounds that follow E. C is always hard. And then there's different, like that right there's a def followed by E. The F here can go either way, forwards, backwards. It's always a hard F, F. And in here, if it's got a tail on it, fini, fini, fa, fa. And if it's got a tail on it, it can be fila. Okay, like this right here, except with an A on it and a tail. There's an FL, fla, fila. And this is 2 signs here, 2 different characters. This is a G, and this is a G, and this is a backward G. This symbol here is very rare, but it's a variation of a light guttural, H. And when you see this like capital I looking thing, it generally is an H. And one line this way, one line this way, they can be helpers, but they can be ease or ease with a Z sound, ease. And here's a K, variations of K, and it's always a hard K. K is the same in all ancient languages pretty much. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody mispronounce their K's when it came to ancient languages. And these are 2 variations of another light guttural. This is ech, and this can be echs right here, ech, echs. This is the next page of this alphabet, the SCHAFF alphabet. And you see here how much more complicated it is than just the true type font. We just wanted something to put out there to actually make it easier for us to label things. There's variations of an L, several. An L can also mean 50, just the same as it does today. An isosceles triangle kind of here, le. All of these are variations of M. Pretty straightforward there, isn't it? And all of these are variations of an MN, mene sound. And very seldom you'll see this as an N, but these are variations of N also. And N's are very close to S's. It kind of depends on where they are in the word, where you can actually see what it might be. And this is actually two V's laid over each other, and that's an N with a vowel sound after it also. So a little bit different, All of these are variations of O, and when you see O with a line in it like that, it's generally a long O. I haven't seen anything else, but be sure that it doesn't connect. If it connects to each side of the O, it's something completely different. These are variations of P, and P followed by vowel pa. And here we have the standard Greek pi. Yes, there are many Greek characters in here. That's pi, and it's always pi. PT, poto, Q, modern day Q, qua, and sometimes Q is used as a C sound, a hard C sound. And again, once you see a Q and a U after it, you know which direction that sentence line is going. And here you have variations of R, and there are more variations of this. You can look at them in the books. There are several in the books. Rho, this is another discovery by exclusive to SCHAFF. And here's several more of the S's. S as a S sound, a hard S sound. Not a Z sound, but an S sound. And there's probably a couple more than that. And this right here, X, is S at the end of a word or at the end of a sentence. Now, whenever we're talking about a character at the end of the word, that word can also be the last word of a sentence, okay? So this, and when I show you this decipherement coming up, you're going to notice how many X's there are at the end of the words. We're gonna ground that in. And here you have an S with an O on it. S-O, so. This is the third and final page of this script notes. And here we're going to start off with the letter T. T, beginning of the word or sentence. And you'll notice these when we break down several decipherments, and you'll also notice them in our previous decipherment tapes. Now, when you see this cross, this plus sign here in the by itself, it's et. And if it's in the middle of a word, it's an actual T sound, a hard T sound. These two symbols here denote a Greek theta, th. And in the decipherment I'm fixing to show you, that right symbol right there means 1,000 too. Here's another variation of a T, and it denotes the end of a word. If it's crisscross like this, it's a toss at the end of the word. And both this symbol and this symbol, which are interchangeable with this symbol, these are U's and these are V's. V's a little bit more slender. If it's a wide standard V, that's generally a U. Y's can go any way. It's U when followed by a consonant, and it's UE when followed by a vowel. So watch for these. They have a lot of variations, and we've done plenty of decipherments online in our videos where you can catch that with that what we mean right here. These symbols here can be voiceless or can mean a variation of things. The best thing to do there is grab some of the old extinct lost language books and compare in alphabets to kind of determine what the syntax, what the language is of the stone that you're deciphering. Because we're going to give you some extra stones to look at. And with this series, I put a lot of information out there. So if somebody wants to learn how to decipher these stones, we have plenty of information. And I'll have some more information at the end of this that you'll be able to either purchase or work something out. Okay, these are voiceless vowels, but they can also mean different things in E or so whatever. And then sometimes this same symbol is a diphthong, the AE diphthong. This symbol here, every time we've seen it, is an east. Dots and lines like this denote, with the bars, numerical. These are numerical, and you have to figure out what it's all about. Yeah, but we've got it in decipherements. You can take notes, and we're not just throwing you off the bridge. And that right there is used a couple of times as a Z sound. This is another F variant. F, or it could be a F, an ETH in sound in front. And this signal sign here is F followed by a vowel. But it could have an L sound in it, whatever. But these are variations, and so is this one here, pat or pato, or just some different variation of a PAT. So that's a good grounding in the actual script that we use to decipher a lot of this text, with the exception of the Egyptian. But this is a mixture of Punic characters, Latin characters. Paul put all this together years ago. And I just found stuff as I went along, and hey, let's add that. It's as good now as it's ever been. Now we're going to break down and look at one of the most fascinating decipherments the world over. This is a shocker. And this is one of Paul did this in, I believe, fall of 1994. Burroughs had sent us some extra pictures of script. And so this is what we're going to see now. This is what we're feeding off of now. And this is possibly the longest decipherment so far from this tomb. And it is just absolutely stupendous. There's no other word to describe it. Fascinating. And like I say, this is a history tablet. Let's have a look at it, shall we? This is a life-size model, if you will. It's about 10 inches there. We're not sure how thick it was, but it might have been just about that thick. And this is one of the pictures that, I don't have the actual picture, I can't find it, of in late September of 1994, Russell Burroughs sent us several pictures of these heavily scripted tablets. And he wanted to know what they say. What does this say? Come here. Is Paul working on it? All right, and here is the reverse of it. It has a little figurine in there of an animal. And the script starts down here, and we're going to show you how the script goes. And we never released this. I don't think it's ever been published. It's never been shown to anyone, but it is absolutely earth-shattering. What this tablet says will really put the rivets in the coffin, I would say. It's fascinating. Now we're looking at a real grainy blow-up of the model that Paul made years ago. And it's real blurry. This has been through the mill and back. I'm just going to show it. Paul finished this, I believe, in late '94. Not a good picture at all. And I can't find the original picture, but we've got better views of it here. And here's a much better view of the same tablet, same side of the same tablet. You can see all these characters here. Even though some of them are kind of washed, kind of here you can see a Q, Y, V, U, L. Good clean script, and it's read from top to bottom, bottom to top. We'll explain that here in a second. Now I have filled in the characters as best I could, and so we're going to look at it, and it starts right here after the Helios. This upside down Helios, and it comes up like this, and like I said, we're going to notice how many times the X is S at the end of the word. And here you see the directions of the script. Just go slow. And I'm going to go back down. So you can see these. And I'm going to stop right here and then zoom out. So now you can see the entire tablet. And this is Paul's rendition of the script. You see it starts here, goes like this, comes down like this, then goes up, jumps over this way, and then boom, comes into right here. Handsome layout, very handsome layout. This is one of Paul's early worksheets on this tablet. Now let me blow it up. And here you see the script start right here. And here you have X as S at the end of the word. And he's using that for a 1000, but it's got a little bit of a tail on it. And here you see these three characters, this word. Here's using 1050. Here's et by itself. And here you see Paul's just throwing out syntax. Fac, where we get our manufacturing from, made. Captured, prisoner. Some of this, there's another X as S ends the word. And here it actually ends the sentence. And that's what you kind of want to know. Here we go, this line again. Hail victorious, King Rex. Cogit, assemble. Effect, here's a Q as a hard C after an F. Effect, brought forth. Here you have the K with a followed by a vowel sound, an S. Caspetto, 1000, lick, comes, Roman. You know, Roman or Romans on the field. Here we go with this line. Here you have the IU with an X at the S of end of the word. Same thing here. You'll just, the more you see this, the more it will make sense to you. Here's your horns, here's another S, X, here's another, well, Paul has this way. United bad smelling, and we'll get to that here in a second. Here's the EU, 1000, funerus, post, epitus. See, there's another X, it's S ends. Same thing here. Killed. Suck up. Wolf's teeth. And now let's put it all together and show you what Paul came up with. Now we're going to see Paul's amazing transliteration of this tablet, this ancient text found in southern Illinois, Marion County, Illinois. Here we go. To sum it up, in total, we slew 1,000 men, drowned 1,050 sailors, and took 1,055 prisoners. Hail to our victorious King, who brought forth and assembled on the battlefield an army of highly valued Roman comrades against a united force of horned helmets, yes, horned helmets, and bad-smelling people. And Paul's word for the bad-smelling people, because it comes up in several different stones, he calls them the stinkers. Bad-smelling, the stinkers is a good word for it. The 1,000 were slain after they were sucked up by wolves' teeth on or at the shoreline of a or the body of water. So where did this battle take place? It's recorded on this. Was that at the Great Lakes? Was that somewhere along the Mississippi or the Ohio rivers? That is absolutely out of this world. There's nothing else like it the world over, especially when it comes to ancient history of North America. I'm going to wrap this up by showing you, first of all, the reverse of the tablet you just saw deciphered. This is a linear script here, and it's a lot different. It's a lot different. And this is another one of the pictures that Burroughs sent us in September of, or early October of 1994. Now I'm going to blow it up. Now I'm going to start at the top and just go down, just to let you look at it and get some idea of the script. It appears to be some kind of bison there, or maybe not. That could be a chip in the stone. It could have a trunk. We're not sure. Just gonna scroll down. There's a Q, there's your HISAR symbol. And there's your upside down Helios. And now I'm going to show you this same tablet, but as I have darkened in the script. And here's after I made a copy and then filled in the script with Sharpie or something. See it a bit more clear. So if somebody wants to tackle that, it's right there. Handsome tablet. Here's another one of the heavily scripted tablets that Burroughs sent us in fall of 1994. And we haven't seen any pictures of any of these since. I have no idea who owns this tablet now, where it is. I don't. And if somebody does own it, or knows who owns it, just give us a shout. Let us know where it's at. I hope it's in good shape. But you can see it's covered with script, and this tablet was probably about, 8 or 9 inches by 8 or 9 inches. And this photograph was taken by Russell Burroughs, same as the others. That gives it some authenticity. He couldn't have done this. There's just no way. So now I'm going to blow this up and let you look at it a little bit closer. Here's a closer shot of this scripted tablet, and I'm just going to scroll up slowly, or scroll down, whichever direction you think I'm going. There's several Egyptian characters right here. Here's the bottom of it. Now we're looking at the tablet as I have filled in the script with black ink pen. I'm going to blow it up. Starting at the top again and moving down. And these tablets were the ones that Burroughs was most concerned with. So these tablets were actually extant just as we jumped into the scene. 1994. Here's this neighbor here just relaxing. Taking it easy. Huh? What do you think? Huh? You ornery old cat. But if we looked over this way here, three, four, five. I guess that's the same five that we see everywhere else. Six. That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed it or learned something. Like I said at the beginning, it's not meant for everyone. And I figured, like, after showing all those tablets in the artifact series, the galleries, that somebody may want to know more about the languages that are used in these scripts. And I don't know. I'll have to wait to see how much interest there is into how I should put together and email the scripted sheets of the SCHAFF alphabet. It's quite unique, but it's very similar if you look at some of the other alphabets. And that's what you want to see, is you want to see, compare your alphabets, and if they are very similar, those are the ones you want to go with, not these rogue new alphabets. They're just absolutely worthless. A lot of people's new, it's like, where do these guys come from? And like I say, I'm not sure, but if there is enough interest, I'll put some instructions down there where somebody can maybe put a humble donation into my PayPal account, and I can send those to you via email or something. And until next time, brothers and sisters, peace out and God bless you. Thank you. You can hear that skunk just crunching down. Now hear possum crunching down. They love those corn chips. There's at least 6. I want to leave you with one final thought. That if anyone out there is truly interested in learning ancient languages, you're going to need a table in a room to just set your alphabets up, set your pictures up, set everything up so that you can leave it and come back and forth to it. And you have to be focused on that one thing. It's not like something you can do for half an hour and then leave it. And then, you have to buckle down and study and get the hang of it and have a room where you can just focus and concentrate. That's what it takes. So I just wanted to throw that in there. I love that bird.